In today's video, we're having a calming and relaxing time drawing 6 easy watercolor flowers that are beginner friendly and a joy to paint. So let's get started. First, let's talk supplies. I've got some watercolor paper, a small set of Faber-Castell watercolor paints, a brush in a size 6 round, a glass of water and some paper towel to blot my brush on. I'm using a ceramic plate to mix my paints on, and we're ready to start. We're gonna start off with my favorite flower, the daisy. So I start with the stamen in a dark brown, just a little blob, and I've left a little gap to show some highlight. We are attempting to draw a white daisy here, and for that I've diluted some black with a lot of water and we get this very light gray. I'm painting these petals going halfway around the stamen, keeping the ones in the middle a bit longer, and they get shorter as we go outwards. Drawing petals like these are so relaxing in itself as you let go of all the other thoughts and just focus on the pressure that you're putting on your brush. Adding some leaves to our beautiful little flower here. Maybe I'll just go back and darken up some of the areas, add some shadow to the stamen, put some lines down the petals, and that's it. Next, I'm painting these flowers that look like berries. Simply painting some little ovals in magenta, leaving a tiny gap for the highlight. You could go back and darken some of the areas for a bit of shading, perhaps add some spikes, and then we'll finish off with some stems and a few leaves in a few places. When painting leaves, I start with light pressure, then I increase the pressure, heavy pressure, and then finish off again with light pressure. And then I sometimes go back in and fix the tips or the edges of the leaves, but try not to go back over and over again trying to overwork the paint. Things in nature are always a little bit imperfect, and there's beauty in that imperfection. Okay, so those are our 2 flowers so far. Next, let's try and draw some roses. We start with a few dots in the center, that's the stamen of our flower, and then I start with doing these tiny little C curves. And the curves get bigger and lighter as we move outwards from the center. You could even rinse your brush if you want to make the outer petals a little bit lighter from the ones in the center. Keep going until you're happy with the size of the flower, and then you can go back and make the edges of the petals a little bit darker if you like. That makes the petals look more distinct, they're more defined. Then we'll give our rose a pretty little stem and some leaves. Roses have these 2D leaves, so we'll try and do a couple of those. And we'll come back and add the veining on the leaves once the paint is dry. Let's move on to our next flower, which is a very loosely drawn poppy. And for that, I'm drawing these few circular blobs that kind of overlap in the center. We're keeping it really nice and loose, and the first poppy here is as if you're looking at the flower from the top, and the next one here is as if you're looking at the flower from the side. So we're doing 2 different perspectives here. We'll give our poppies some wriggly stems, and once the paint on the flowers is dry, we'll go back in with some black paint and dot in some stamen, just a few dots in the center, and the flowers start to look like poppies. Our rose leaves are dry now, so we can go back in and add some veining. And we are down to the last 2 flowers for this video. The next one is a lily, and I'm using a pencil to mark some guidelines. I'm drawing an X and a line down the middle of the X. So I'll use these lines to paint my petals over. So I get a flower that looks like as if you're looking at it from the side. It's almost like we're painting a star. For the colors, I've mixed some magenta with some orange and diluted them with lots of water to get this beautiful delicate peach color. You can go back in with a little bit more pigment and outline the edges of the petals, and that makes it look more defined. And I'm using some blue to draw the stamen of the flower, some lines going down into the center of the flower. You can add some directional lines going down the center of the petals, and we'll finish off with a stem. Alright friends, we're on to the final flower, and for that we're painting some lavender. So I loaded up my brush with some purple, and using the tip of my brush I'm doing these dots and scribbles to form these thin triangular shapes that are pointed at the top and get a bit wider as we go down. Then we'll add some stem in green, and lavenders look good with thin grassy leaves, so we'll add a few of those in. It doesn't matter if your green is bleeding into the purple blossoms, it just adds to the character of the flower, and I think it looks really pretty. You can darken up some of the areas of the leaves if you like. I'll also darken up a few places on the blossoms as well, just adding a tiny bit of blue in a few places, and that's it. So there, my friends, are our 6 easy watercolor flowers for today. I had a lot of fun painting them for you guys today. I hope you find them useful. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.